I hope you are doing well, and I hope everybody in your family is safe. We got our little family. We've had a thunderstorm today. And so some of us are wanting to cuddle because it's been very loud. A lot of thunder. So welcome to 1111 True Crime. And we're going to be talking about DNA. Sounds so technical. But actually, if you think about how it works, it actually is pretty simple. So I'm going to give you a scenario. Are you going to stay up here the whole time, Lucky? Do you want to stay up here and talk to everybody the whole time? Because you're heavy. You don't look heavy, but you're a chunky monkey. I guess he's gonna. So there's a knock on your door. Open up. Ellie. You open the door. And they want you to come down to the station because they have some serious questions for you to answer. And you're like, what is this about? I'm doing my housework and stuff. Why do I need to come to the station? But regardless, you go to the station and they sit you down at the table. Right, Luck? And they explain to you that in the town next to you, your DNA was found on the doorknob of the bedroom to a victim of homicide 2 weeks ago. And they want to know, how did it get there? And you're like, I've never met that person in my life. I have never been to their house. And they're like, well, we have you in the area of the house 12 times. First of all, I hope you have a military lawyer when it gets into how they got your DNA. Because if you're lucky enough that it's touch DNA, and I say lucky because then it can be explainable. So let's get into this together. It gets kind of complicated, but it's really simple. I mean, now Jack wants up. All right. Oh my gosh. These are my babies. Hi. Can you say hi to everybody? Oh, you're so heavy. Can you say hi to everybody, Jackson? Hi, Cold. How are you, Cold or Covered? Hi, Plexus. And MS Kim. And Sue and Dana Lynn. Yeah, we're live, and we're going to be really digging into DNA. And we're going to be getting some expert opinion. Some lawyer opinions, huh? Because I don't know. This is Jackson. The other was Lucky. They're the ones that make all the ruckus on the channel. Okay, good boys. Let's get back down to the station. So you're in the chair at the table, and they're telling you, ouch, I have a tingle again. Dang it. It's been raining all day. I've been out in it. So this is like all natural, like flat hair from the day. You're in the chair. How'd your DNA get on the doorknob? And you're like, I've never been on that block. I've never touched the house. I've never been in the house. I couldn't even tell you. I don't even know this person at all. And they're like, well, it didn't just magically appear there, but did it magically appear there? Could your DNA actually be on that doorknob, even though you've never been in the house? So you start thinking, well, first of all, like I said, make sure you got some good representation. And you're talking with your defensive team. And they're like, have you been in the house? And you're like, no, I was being honest. I haven't. And they're like, okay, we have touch DNA, trace DNA. We've got to find out what's the connection between you and the victim. There's a go-between then. Because it's touch DNA, and the only answer is that if you yourself have not been in that home, there's a third party in between the two of you. And you're like, well, I have no idea. How will I know if I know that person's people? Well, go ahead, list out your stuff. And this is what I feel Anne should be doing. Because BK's in college, and there's 2 colleges, right? One he's at, that nothing really happened at, WSU, and one college where 4 homicides took place, right? So let's get back into you. You're sitting there with your defense team, and they're going over everything they can think of, and they're like, what did you do that day? And you walk through it again for the 100th time. My husband was selling some tires. They were in the backyard. Some guy showed up. He bought the tires. I shook his hand. And I went grocery shopping and da-da-da-da-da. And finally, it hits them. Who was the guy that bought the tires? And you're like, I don't know. It was a cash deal. So they go do the research, and sure enough, it's the neighbor to the person. And guess what? You shook his hand. Your DNA actually put you on the doorknob of the homicide victim, but you had not one thing to do with that crime. Nothing. Even though law enforcement can say that you've been in that town, around that neighborhood 12 times, which you knew you were getting groceries, getting things picked up, doing your normal life because it's right next to you, the town over. So, when it comes to actual touch DNA, I've got us some things to look at that shows you all it takes is a handshake, and you could be put at the scene of a crime. I kid you not. So you are currently watching a live that is being recorded. I'm going to start giving the date. August 1st. We got Liongate coming up, you guys. Hey, Sassy. Thank you for modding. Hi, Deborah Lynn. Hi, Big Chili. Plexus again. So, you feel me. Hey, Tickety Boo. Moonflower, good to see you. Aw, you think my pups are beautiful, Sue? Thank you. Damn, Shutterbug. Aw, what a cute name. All right, I hope I caught everybody. And if I didn't, you know I'm saying hi to you. You're my 11 family. But you feel me. You go from a normal life to maybe you're baking cookies in the kitchen when you get that little Ellie open up. We got your DNA on the doorknob of a homicide victim in another town next to you. Your life is turned upside down. Now, let's look at BK a little bit. What do they really have? They've got touch DNA on a sheath. That doesn't even fit what we're understanding to be the true natures of the wound. They're calling it knife wounds, but when the coroner herself, in a raw state of visually seeing the wounded, referred to it as big open gouges, that these weren't like stab wounds, then how did what the person do? Curve it? I don't get it. Big open gouges talk about missing chunks, right? And think about it. Have you ever stepped on a nail? You don't have a big open gouge from that pointy item being inserted into your foot. You have, it doesn't even look like a hole hardly. You're like right in here because it's a suction. It closes, the wound closes. But when you get big open gouges, how does that match a murder weapon that doesn't leave a stab wound, even fit a knife sheath? I would like to know, is the victim's DNA found on that knife sheath? Is that a knife ordered on Amazon, and is that the search warrant that the girls in the home had ordered? Was that knife something that one of the victims had originally? And how would DNA from BK get on that knife sheath? Are you ready? I got an idea to share with you, and that's why I came on, to really kind of share with you some of this idea, because it's even just great information going forward. So before I jump into the highs and hellos to those entering, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a pen, a writing pen? Hold on. A pen. Now, Jackson got this too, so it's got teeth marks. But do you have a pen in your car? Because it could save you from wrongful conviction. I kid you not. Are you ready to talk about how that could basically save your life, is having a pen, a working pen in your car? Just saying. A natural healing. Aw, Jackson is a sweet baby. Thank you, Moonflower. Yeah, I was thinking about open wounds. How and where did we get that information? Directly from the coroner. She was on her first interview, can't find it anymore. And then second, it was repeated by Steve Gonsalves, as well as it's been out there in the news. And it's still out there today. I've done many videos of showing where the coroner stated, Kathy Mabick stated, big open wounds, not like stab wounds. She even went in to say they weren't going to bleed out. They weren't bleeding out and going to be saved, or they would have bled out. They couldn't be saved because it was big open gouges, right? All right, Deborah, everybody wants to know. Yes, in the car, please. Okay, why would it be important? Well, I'm going to tell you a couple little secrets, all right? Ancient Chinese secrets. If you have a pen in your car, and let's say you do get pulled over, you'll notice a couple things that often a police officer does. And if you're in a corrupt, if you happen to be in that kind of neighborhood, or maybe you don't know you're going to be in that little rinky-dink little county that likes to do things like the Dukes of Hazzards and just get you for everything, right? You want your own pen. Here's why. You get pulled over, maybe you have a headlight out, maybe you didn't put your blinker on, maybe you was speeding, you get pulled over. You're not in your county. Now, one of the things you'll notice often, a lot of people notice and don't really know why, is the officer will remove his left glove and he'll tag your car on the back end. I call it tagging. He's touching your car with his hand. That is so that if you take off and later we catch you, right, Ellie will be able to say, this is the car because it's got the officer's DNA on it. Boom. Touch DNA transferred. You follow me? You touch the car, his DNA is on it, his touch DNA. So officers are very keen to DNA transfer and touch DNA. Now I have a question for you. Let's say I'm a bad LE person and I pull you over and now I'm giving you a ticket. But it's not because I want you to pay a ticket. It's because I have a homicide back here and I need a patsy. And you're going to be my patsy. So I'm going to make you fit my crime. Already got you in the area because I got you pulled over near the place that this crime is taking place. I've got you in the area at approximately the scene of the crime because I've made doggone sure I just pulled you over near the crime. Now, you're getting a ticket for whatever I've come up with. You were going a mile over the speed limit. You're getting a ticket. You didn't have your seatbelt on. Whatever, you're getting a ticket. So I got my clipboard there. Now, I pull my pen out and I write the ticket thingy, right? I've got a gloved hand because this is the left hand. I write out my ticket. Now you got to sign on it, right? You're going to sign. You're touching that pen. You're leaving your DNA on that pen for me. Oh, yeah. So now I'm going to let you go. And if I'm that bad, corrupt Dukes of Hazzard kind of LE, I'm like, ha, 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 ha. Look at this. I get back to the little main staged, place at the crime scene. And I'm like, oh, come here. Boyd, get over here. I got us a little sugar daddy right here that's going to pave the way out of our crime. Oh, yeah. Let's get a buccal swab out of the lab. Rub it on that pen. Real good. Now, let's put it on this little sheath. Throw that in the bed with the victim. Boom. I know they's in the area because I pulled them over myself. You get what I'm saying? The entire scenario is like you can so easily transfer this DNA that anybody could have taken a pen that Kohlberger used, or they could have been somebody that just simply shook his hand. That's it. And then they touched the knife sheath. Any student that used a book from the library that Kohlberger had checked out could have transferred the DNA. It is fallible. Touch DNA is not reliable in a court of law when it comes to military court because of the fact that touch DNA, it decomposes quicker, right? And it's so easily transferred. Like you could be walking by, one of your hair floats out because we're constantly shedding. As humans, we shed our hair, our DNA, all kinds of skin cells all the time, everywhere we go. So now if my hair floats off into some woman's house, that maybe it lands on something in the grocery store, her cart, her purse. Now they're doing DNA on her purse. They find my hair. I'm in court and I don't even know the person. So you got to be very, very careful with DNA. You have to be skilled with it. There's such a risk for high contamination. And face it, they, meaning the actual people that do DNA, do not understand all of its capability. They do not understand all of its falsehoods yet. And I personally feel it's going to be seen as one of the most major wrongful convictions ever in life. I really do. I think that touch DNA is going to land so many innocent people in prison because we're unskilled. We don't know enough about it. We don't know how to fight it. Not everybody can afford Ann Taylor as their defense attorney. And I know somebody's going to come, wait a minute, she's volunteering because she is put on by the state. Don't forget that. She's still a state employee when it comes down to it. Hey, Dark Square. Don't use their pen. That's right. Don't use their pen. Let me get that on the board. It's 1 million degrees now. I may have to turn that fan on. Annette says I've talked out my road pullovers every time. It's been a few years in aging that helped. I just don't speed. You could sneeze. Right, you could sneeze. And your DNA is somewhere. Touch something, your DNA is somewhere. Deborah says, I often thought when he had his doctor's appointment the following Tuesday after the massacre, he may have had blood work and even then wiped it off his arm with a cotton ball or Band-Aid and kept it purposely. Well, I doubt it. And I know I don't normally disagree with an opinion. But the reason would be, if he's the actual patsy and they got his blood, it would have been at the scene of the crime, in my opinion. But they don't have that. They only have touch DNA. And it really makes me think about it. We have two ways to look at it. If you believe that BK is innocent, either BK's DNA was accidentally transferred by the actual perpetrator. So somebody that shook hands with Brian, entered the home, had Brian's DNA still on their glove because they didn't leave no prints. How did that happen? Hold on a minute. I think we just stumbled on a big problem. If Brian wears touch gloves, like the guilters are saying all the damn time, how would his skin cells got on that button snap? I don't get that. But, okay, so if somebody knew Brian and they just shook his hand, maybe they don't even know him. Maybe they don't even know him. Maybe they just simply checked out a book and turned the page, and he had already read the book and turned the page. It's a college. It could be right based off a book. I mean, if you're just going on the DNA alone, touch DNA sounds, I mean, when the media puts it out there as his DNA is found on the knife sheath in the bed with the victims, dun, 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 guilty is what it feels like. It just sounds insurmountable, like we couldn't fight it. But the truth really is how shaky that DNA is. There are so many questions of why would it be able to be found by the second lab, but not the first, when it is deteriorating as touch DNA and it's decomposing. So the DNA is decomposing because it's skin cells. You've watched the Jay Slater case, the questions about the fingerprints. The body decomposes. It doesn't just lose moisture. So the very second that you or BK shed that skin cell, it starts decomposing. And it only has a shelf life of so long for touch DNA because it's going to turn into something that's icky and it's going to flake off and all that. So the first place couldn't find it. The normal means could not find anything on the knife sheath. But then they hired a little-known company, and they could dig so much deeper. And they were able to find skin cells that, through magic, was tracked back to Kohlberger. Because, I mean, how else can you explain it? We have no other reason other than it's magic. They knew it because they can't provide any work that shows how they did it, so it's magic. How is this going to convince any jury? When they themselves are going to be thinking about the fact that that DNA could have come from anywhere, and the most important thing to think about is there's no time limit. There's no timeline on that DNA, and when it got on that knife sheath, it could have been there before the crime, and it certainly could have been there after. How could it have been after? Well, if they had their eyes on BK like they say they did, and if they were tracking him and keeping their eyes on him before they arrested him, they could have been collecting little things with his DNA, and it could have very easily cross-contaminated the evidence already in the case, meaning there would have been no DNA at all on the knife sheath with BK on it at all at the house. Actually, it could have been that while this person is investigating BK, that they touched something of his with his DNA and then contaminated the knife sheath before it was given to Orthram. That's highly likely, knowing that we have an investigative team that, as I've said before, makes me feel like I'm in the car with a student driver and they don't know what they're doing, because DNA is powerful. It's kind of like, think of it as a virus in a way. It can travel, it can contaminate. It's got movement about it, and it can land somewhere. So if there is a chance that BK signed a pen, used a pen to sign anything at the library or any place, the next person could have picked up the pen and signed, and now they got somebody else's DNA on their hand named BK, and now they've committed a crime, and what happened to be found on that knife sheath is BK. So it's too fallible to hold water in a court of law because it's touched DNA. If it would have been blood, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because how would you explain that? But when there's a lack of evidence coming out of the home after the crime, what? How did he pull that off? And then you have to wonder, he had no knowledge of the victims in the sense of stalking, preparation, nothing. So basically, when Bill Thompson said BK was not stalking one of the victims, then what the hell does it matter how many times he pinged in an area where the grocery store is? Just saying. Hey, Tina Gooney. Cops went through his bin. He was using gloves, then putting trash in neighbor's bin. Retrieving glove, maybe. Could have been just that. OU says juries in touch DNA cases should do the germ experiment grade schoolers do, as reference to how easy touch DNA can transfer once in a jury room. True. Hi, Brenna Lilly. In my opinion, someone would have to wear gloves to keep fingerprints off. Moonflower says, was it ever at the crime scene? We're never going to know that, but that's my question. Was BK's DNA ever at the crime scene? I got to write that down. That's a good note. Where did I throw my pen? DNA being left on the pen. Was BK's DNA ever at crime scene? I'm keeping a note for that. I might change the title after the live, because that is the real question. How did it really get there? And because there are so many variables, let's say there's a student, right? Let's say he's a bartender. I'm just pulling this out of nothing. Total spaghetti on the wall, right? Making it up, rumor, hearsay, speculation. Let's say there's a bartender. And let's say you're going to commit a crime. How many glasses do you have available to pick one and be like, with your napkin, drop it in a paper bag, put it in your book bag, and now you could put anybody that happened to be at your bar at any crime scene, and you're a bartender. How do we know that BK never went to the bar and that Adam Lotta served him a drink? How do we know that? How do we know that that did not happen? How do we know that he didn't just go in and buy a water? There's no proof. There's none. And if you are one that speculates and was like, well, it was probably somebody that worked with her at the Mad Greek, right? It was just somebody like that. What if that somebody was serving BK and was like, aha, this guy is perfect. Hey, are you single? You are? Cool. Oh, you look like you're out of state. I saw you drive in out of state. Oh, yeah? You're over here by yourself. You don't really have a lot of friends. That's so bad. I'm so sad for you. Enjoy your meal. And when they leave, grab his cup. And now go do your crime. We'll leave that right there. And now they got their guy. And the cops are going to be like, yep, we got him. His DNA's on that little knife sheath right there. I'm just saying, it could be that easy. Big Chili says, in my opinion, this crime would have never happened if cameras were installed. Well, there were cameras installed. There were cameras on the outside all over the place, but there were no cameras in the home. That is so weird. Found place next to MM. Think about the ticket he got from the female officer, handing over his license, etc. And did he sign using her pen? I can't get by my straw issue since COVID now. Added gloves. Not sure what you're saying, honey. I hope that you got over your COVID. Big Mikey, hello, lovely. 3 unknown male DNA. Oh, my golly, I'll bet you all my money in the world. I really would. I wish they'd tell us. I really wouldn't bet because I'm not a betting person. But if I were, I'd lay it down on Jack D. Aw, Jackie, you say your baby looks a lot like mine? That's so cool. Tanilli Ray says, how do you take a DNA sample out of the trash and know it isn't contaminated? No BK DNA at the scene other than that knife sheath button. How do we even know that it was there at that time? Because it could have been cross-contaminated. It's touch DNA. And never, anywhere, anyhow, does touch DNA tell us when it got on the knife sheath. It just doesn't. Beth says, I believe something like that happened. Hey, Sue. And that's the same female officer you see all the time. Same one when they went to Brent Kopacka's apartment. How interesting. Deborah says, I believe there was many obscure cameras hidden in the house of Usher. Beth said, why are they so limited in talking about the frat kids? Enough is enough. It's time. Plexus Val says, I think the house was monitored by hidden cameras, to it being the rug house. I'm rocking my colors today. Well, thank you, Dark Square. Thank you. You say fear of unclean glasses and often use straws. Now add no contact gloves. Oddly, CDC says gloves are recommended. Hey, Julie Brown. I don't think KM even knew what she's talking about. She seems to be a jack of all trades and a master to none. She lied because I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who you're talking about, KM. And I'm not going to discredit someone and say they lied if they're not here to defend themselves. So please, always make sure the person's there if you're going to talk about them. Wolf Angel, I also believe the house was totally wired video and audio. How many of you believe the house was like, how many of you believe the house was wired? Natural Healing says, my instincts tell me Ellie did the DNA on BK. And it could have happened with a handshake. It could have happened with a handshake. The sheath had 15 microbes DNA. It takes 90 microbes to develop a DNA. Not for Orthram. They're amazing. They can get DNA. Even if you weren't there, they can put you there, in my humble opinion. And Jolie Phil's DM could have done it, in their opinion, because she's shady. Yep. Brenna Lily says, in my opinion, someone have got it off his apartment doorknob. She means Kathy Mabbitt. Oh, I thought you meant like a fellow creator. See, I don't know who Cam was. I'm like, who? This is really all they have, as PC has already been proven as false. And yes, then they applied for a search warrant to look for the sheath at his apartment after they already had it. Drives me crazy. Changes in my opinion since crime. I use food handling gloves, ADA allergy protection. I don't believe it was at the crime scene, says Tenoli Ray. Show me how many of you feel that the knife sheath had BK's DNA on it at the crime scene when it was originally found. Give me a 1. 1 DNA was Jack D. Even Steve G said that. That's right, Dana Lynn. All right, Debbie. Could be. Yeah, how was it later noticed by Maddie's right side? Right, Dana? Yeah. Oh, I'm so far behind y'all. Hold on. I'm trying to keep up. Musical Contessa says 1111 true crime. Ask the hard questions police failed at. State and court hearing. The feds found nothing. No reason to indict Brian Kohlberger. Idaho presented false evidence. Wrongfully indicted. Moonflower says there was only a partial and it would have been degraded by the copper snap and created a profile at Orthram. Brenna Lilly says, in my opinion, CCTV camera only pick up sound 6 meters, which is about 19 feet. Natural Healing says, I've always felt everything was wired, the glass house on the hill. Hey, city girl. Thank you for saying hi. Appreciate it. Hey, Wolf Angel. Good to see you. Okay, so a lot of you, including Big Mikey, says, yeah, that house was wired. Joey says JD number is a suspect. Okay, so number 2, BK's DNA wasn't on the sheath. I can't get no 1s and I only get in 2s. Nope, no DNA at the crime scene. You were appealing if there was a struggle going on in Maddie's room. I believe her boots and her Emma initial would have been disheveled along with other items. I am unclear what that means. Sorry, love. Musical Contessa says, do you feel the crime occurred about 2 p.m. like the it would be a.m. like the coroner Mabbitt stated? I believe that the crime took place between 2, literally, I would say 2:30, 2:45 it started. And in my humble opinion, it went on after 3 o'clock. A lot of people feel that he's set up, that Brian is set up. Joey says, what about trash outside for DNA? Well, you got to remember, DNA is very fouled easily. So it can't come from something random like a doorknob, because if the mailman touch a doorknob, then he's going to be in court along with Kohlberger for the murder of 4 victims. You follow me? So you need something that secures that it is only that person. And that's why the pen coming from the pocket, right? So the only person, the DNA on the pen of an officer is their own until they hand it. And if it's a brand new pen every time, and they're going to write out the ticket, all right, there you are. Just sign right there that you'll appear in 90 days. Thank you. Can I have my pen back? Thank you. Pen goes back in the pocket. There's your ticket. Now I get back in my car. I've only got 2 possibilities. Mine and your DNA on this pen. I drop it in the paper bag. I have your DNA. Your touch DNA. It could, in a dirty county, be used improper. So always take your own pen. Who knows with Emma Bailey if she's an informant or not? What would she know? Hey, Sandra. Yeah, you know, there are dirty dishes on the table. There's food containers left on the counters. It's a normal college home. And they're trying to tell us they couldn't find but 3 unknown male DNAs and Brian's DNA. That's it? Really? Really? Because that's a lie. That's just, in my opinion, a complete bold-faced lie. There is no way. We all knew it was going to be a petri dish. We knew it was going to have every single person that had ever partied there, and it didn't. So it was cleaned then. It was spot cleaned professionally in the 8 hours, or they had so much DNA they didn't know what to do with. They were overwhelmed. They were drowned in DNA. It's one way or other. You're not going to tell me that those 6 kids were able to clean that house so good that there is no way that the state forensic team could not find DNA of the frats or JD or Adam or anybody else. It was so clean. It was only the victims and BK's DNA in that entire house. Well, I'll tell you right now, that is damn near impossible. So either the place, you have it one way or the other. Either the place is spot clean professionally, which removed all DNA through chemical processing, or it was a literal petri dish of DNA of everybody that had visited there in the last 6 months to a year. And the police cherry-picked out what they felt was interesting. Just the way. There's no other way. There's no in-between. You can't tell me they couldn't find DNA in that home. Natural Healing says, as little as Maddie's room was so tiny and horrific the wounds were, I'm surprised that the boots and everything else was still in the window. I thought the room should be trashed, in my opinion. That's a good point. And could the boots have been put back up there to make it look undisturbed after the crime? There's plenty of time, and there's cleanup going on, right? Wolf Angel says the whole crime scene was contaminated. And remember that. Good point, Wolf Angel. Not only do we have 6 months worth of DNA probably in that home from all the parties and not cleaning properly and all that good stuff, we have all the people that allegedly visited the home before 911 got called. The people in the home walking around, going up to bedroom doors, checking pulse, all that stuff. Walking around the home, right? And Joey says in 1111, why DM want Maddie to stay there that she's moving to Texas? Are you talking about when she got invited back as a +1, right? Like DM being like, hey, come on back here to Moscow for one final weekend and come visit us and come to a party with me. No, I don't want to. Kaylee said, I'm moving to Texas. I really don't want to come back to Moscow. But she begged her, according to Christy. And so, with DM begging, that's when Kaylee came back. Right, Karen Guy, and we know who had access to a professional cleaning. Hunter J was there a lot. He's in all the body cam videos. Why is his DNA not checked? Why are none of their DNAs checked? And you know what? If I hear one more person out there state that Jack D passed a polygraph, I will literally block your tater tot butt. Because you ain't even in the case. You're making your own story up in your own world. JD did not take a polygraph. No, didn't happen. So quit typing it out as if you've heard that somewhere. No, JD did not take a polygraph. Cherry picking Ellie on Sunday. I'm just saying. In the S. Right, Joey. 20,000 plus white cars. Okay. I'm just saying, it really boils down to touch DNA on a knife sheath found by the victims in their bed. The DNA is BK's, allegedly. Okay, so what? The question is, who's the go-between? Whether it was planted, whether it was placed, whether it was left. If you believe BK is innocent, then is there a go-between? Is there someone that had access to the sheath and access to BK, his DNA, even after the crime? Most likely, because that pretty much means that if this is a crisis, considered a community crisis, which 4 homicides is, then the main focus is to shut down the mob that's building. Quiet them. And the only way you're going to quiet an angry mob is to give them the name. And if you've been paying attention to staff report, right, or whatever the place is, Southernport, Southport, there it is. You feel me? You've got an angry mob being built up online, in person. People are dissipating. They're like, leaving. So's the money. The only way you're going to shut this down is to produce a name. And all it would take is one person going, I know how to make this stick. I simply take this DNA and I put it on this. And it could have happened after the crime, much later, up to 2 weeks later, right? Or the 14th is when they say that they had DNA on the sheath. They thought, but they couldn't get anything. Their lab couldn't find it. It took a little no-name company that probably works very well with incentive programs. And I don't know if you saw, but they got paid before they did the job. How's that work? I don't know. I've never paid for surgery before it happened, but I mean, you get pre-approved for a payment, but you don't usually get paid for it. I don't know. It just bothers me. But his DNA is just touch DNA, and that could come from absolutely anywhere, anytime. Again, no time stamp on DNA. It never tells you when it got there. So did that DNA get there on that knife sheath after the crime? What are the chances they were just wanting to shut down this entire thing and get a name out there? It's starting to look like it, isn't it? Fall guy. Don't lose hope, right? Fall is your last chance. Maybe it's about the fall guy. I don't know. I appreciate you so incredibly much, and I thank you for joining me on this live or in replay because you matter. I just was sitting in the background over here kind of chilling, not a lot going out there on the YouTube streets. I really can't go any further with the Jay Slater case, and I was thinking, dang, that would really stink if you had shook hands with somebody that bought your friend's tires and that person that you shook hands with committed a crime in the town over. And then they came knocking on your door and wanted to know, how did your DNA get on the doorknob of a homicide across town? How would you explain it? Would you have an alibi? What if it was 3 o'clock in the morning? What if you're single and you got nobody that lives with you? That's getting scary. So how much control are we going to give the court system on a very fallible DNA substance as evidence? And if the military won't use it because they say it just can't be trusted, is it ethical to use it? Even Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, is questioning, is trace DNA ethical? Because what if the wrong people are sent to prison? That's the biggest question. And I do believe it's going to lead, the more that touch DNA is used, the more wrongful conviction we're going to see in the future. Because you can put somebody where they never were. I love you. I hope you are doing well. I hope that your family stays safe. And I will see you again very, very soon. I want to thank you for all the likes. Those are the most important of the buttons. And if you are comfortable with it, hit subscribe if you want to know when I upload again, as well as the little bell. And thank you for all the donations. The other day we raised a total of, I believe it was $165 for the National Missing Children's Foundation. Thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciated that. All right, my lovelies, with that, take care, and I will see you again very soon.